In a glassy tech atrium minutes before an investor visit, an operations boss yanks a custodian's badge, tearing his bag and spilling trash onto a white rug in front of everyone. A junior designer facing a career-defining demo and real financial pressure steps in, shields him, and gets pulled from her presentation. As she quietly tends his small injury, she discovers his hearing card and stacked schedules, and the office subtly shifts, new bench, inclusive sign, small stickers, while her own path steadies in a quiet, earned way. Just a quick note before we begin: hit like, share this with a friend, and subscribe for more. Also, let me know in the comments which country you're watching from. It always amazes me how far these stories travel. The lanyard snapped before the room went quiet. The operations boss had yanked the custodian's badge so fast it whipped his neck, and the plastic clip shot across the polished floor. Skittering under a row of folding chairs, his cart bumped the stage. A grey trash bag tore open. Coffee cups and banana peels slid over the white rug like dark coins. "Not now," she said, already turning back to the big screen where a slide glowed. "Investors in 9, clear this." She flicked her wrist and the man's paper cup tipped, brown streaking down his glove and over the steel rail of the cart. The custodian's hands hovered in the air, open as if he could catch it all. The mop bucket sloshed. The lemon bleach smell cut against roasted espresso. Jessa saw the snap and felt it in her teeth. She stood by the espresso bar with her laptop bag pressing into her hip, the demo deck worn from her palms. Her name sat in the 9:10 slot in the calendar next to the CFO. She had practiced saying the word cohort without the T. She needed this morning. Her contract was up in 3 weeks, and she was one rent check behind. She stared at the man kneeling to pick wet napkins from the rug while people stepped around him. The operations boss didn't look mean, just wired tight. Earpiece in, clipboard tucked to her ribs. She talked into the mic, half to the room, half to her own head. "Keep the aisles, keep the credit. Where is AV?" She glanced back once at the custodian's cart like it was a stray dog. Jessa set her cup down. Her mouth felt empty. If she didn't get on that stage, someone else would. Someone who kept their head down. She knew how this place worked. Everyone watched the person with the mic. The custodian tried to speak. No sound came out at first. He tapped his ear and then his throat. He pointed at the torn bag. He was older, grey hair slicked back, green polo with a stitched leaf on the chest. His left wrist had a crescent of blood. He pressed it to his shirt. The crowd made that soft noise offices make when something goes off script. Shoes shifting, the coffer foam from an espresso machine, a laugh that dies fast. No one moved toward him. Jessa's feet did. She slid under the velvet rope that held the VIP chairs. She crouched. Banana peels, cold coffee, a dented aluminum creamer, all of it dark against white. Up close, the man's hands were raw and clean around the nails. She grabbed the torn bag. "I've got it," she said, not loud. To him. He watched her mouth and nodded like he was trying to pull the words into his head. She wrapped the bag over a fistful of cups. Coffee soaked her sleeve. She could hear her own stupid heart. "Hey," the operations boss said. It wasn't a shout, just sharp. "We do not have time." She hopped off the stage and leaned down. "Sir, you need to go. And you," her eyes flicked to Jessa, "you need to get ready." Jessa stood. The man stood too fast, like he might run. His knuckles hit the cart, and he flinched. The blood on his wrist smeared. Jessa held up her hand. "He's bleeding." She turned her wrist so the red showed. Not his, hers, coffee cut with his blood. People stopped pretending to look at the screen. Security came from the far door, 2 of them, polos that matched the custodian's shirt but cleaner, earpieces. They moved their hands low, palms out. "We need to clear the floor," one said, the kind tone they use on fire drills. Jessa didn't plan what she did next. She unclipped the visitor badge from her bag and looped it over the custodian's neck. "With me," she said. Then more slow, facing him head-on, "With me." She took the cart handle. "We'll be in the corner." "You can't," the operations boss said. "That badge is for guests. This is payroll space. Liability." Her eyes tracked the lines taped on the floor, the route the investors would walk. She wasn't a cartoon villain. She was a floor plan trying to keep its shape. Jessa pulled the cart a foot back anyway. The wheels squealed. She helped the man step over a power cord. She put her own hoodie over his shoulders. It smelled like her detergent and last night's onions. It settled over his green polo like a small tent. Security stood between them and the rope. "Ma'am," The taller one said to Jessa, "We can escort him to where?" she said. "The alley." Her voice wasn't loud, but the mic on stage picked it up somehow. It fed it back to the near speakers. Everyone heard. Her own question hung over them, thin and flat. The operations boss drew a breath. "We have a staff break room," she said. "It is not here." She looked tired. Her eyes tracked the screen, the clock. "I told you last week, no cots on the rug." It was almost to herself. "Then help us get him there," Jessa said. She didn't move. Her hand stayed on the cart. The custodian was close enough that she could see the tiny hearing aid tucked behind his ear, beige against his skin. "Miss," security said, "badge, please." The taller one reached toward the badge on the custodian's chest, the one that said Gust in big letters, Jessa's badge. She took a step into his space. "Scan me instead," she said, and held up the badge on her own belt, the one to the badge door. "I'll go with him. He's with me." The operations boss nodded at security. "Make it quick," she said. "We've got to." The mic cut. The screen flicked. For a second, the room was just the hum of HVAC. They walked past the espresso bar, around the rope, through the glass doors. Jessa pulled, security escorted. The custodian moved like he was afraid to touch anything. They slipped by the visitor desk where the receptionist smiled with her teeth and eyes at once and then saw the blood and stopped smiling. As soon as the glass doors shut behind them, the taller guard turned. "You're removed from the presentation," he said. "Not unkind. Just a fact." Your manager pinged. On Jessa's phone, Slack blew up. A banner slid down. "Where are you?" Then another. "Stand down." Then a third, from HR, "Calendar invite at 3:00 p.m. Her chest felt hot. The elevator pinged past as her access card bricked in her pocket like a tiny tombstone. They got to the staff lounge through a beige corridor that always smelled like toast and dust. It had a fridge, a sink, a bulletin board with a flyer about volleyball. A microwave beeped at 3 and no one touched it. Jessa sat the man in a vinyl chair. He held his wrist away from his shirt. He was careful. He watched her mouth. Up close, a scar ran from his earlobe into his jawline. Pale and old. Jessa wet paper towels and dabbed around the cut. It was small, a crescent, but it would mark his day if no one cleaned it. She kept her eyes on his face. He touched his chest. "Ein," he said, and the name was a shape more than a word. He winced, waited, tried again. It came out soft. "Hi," she said. "I'm Jessa." She slowed her lips. So. She put her hand to her own hoodie on his shoulders. He nodded, then reached into his back pocket and pulled out a wallet that had seen rain. From it, he slid a laminated card the size of a playing card. He handed it to her. The card said, in block letters, "I am hard of hearing. Please face me when you speak. Please talk slow. Thank you." Jessa felt her face go hot, though he couldn't hear her breath catch. She nodded. "Okay." She found a first aid kit under the sink and a box of Band-Aids. She cleaned the cut with what she guessed was saline. The man flinched and then held very still. She went to the small cafe down the hall and bought him a new coffee and a plain bagel and a pack of socks. It wiped out the cash she had for the week. She did it anyway. She set the bagel on a napkin. "Hot," she said, and minned steam. He smiled with just his eyes. He pulled a dented metal tin from his cart while she wrapped his wrist. Inside were tiny screws, a loop, the delicate face of a watch with no hands. He tapped the watch, and then the face of the clock on the microwave, then tapped the watch again. His fingers were careful. He shrugged, like, "What can you do?" "Repair," he said. The R sounded like it had to climb a hill. He brought out a folded paper. It had calloused fingerprints in the corners, greasy a little. Jessa unfolded it. A schedule in type pencil. 6-2, BLDGA. 3-7, BLDGC. 2 through 810 ESL. Under it, in ballpoint, someone had added, "Remember to call landlord. Pay water." At the bottom, a child's drawing of a yellow mop bucket with eyes and a grin. "Grandpa's cart," in shaky letters, a small heart. Jessa swallowed. Her throat felt thick. She didn't have a speech for this. That hovered in her chest for a second, the truth that she had no speech. From the lounge doorway, the operations boss appeared. No mic here. She looked smaller. Still wired, still the clipboard, but her shoulders sat lower. She stood with her hand on the jamb. "Is he okay?" she asked. The question wasn't for show. Her eyes didn't meet Jessa's. "He's cut," Jessa said. "It's small." She kept her voice slow, and her face turned. She gestured between them. He has a hearing card. She tipped the card so it caught the light. The operations boss blinked. I didn't know, she said. A plain sentence. We need the floor clear. Investors hate chaos. She shifted her weight like she wanted to step forward, but the floor might bite. I know, Jessa said. I missed my slot. Her phone vibrated again. She didn't look. I can walk him to the break room you want. The operations boss nodded. I'll get him a new badge, she said. I shouldn't have. She stopped, glanced at the man, lowered her voice. I'll get him a new badge. She disappeared. No parade. No applause. Just the hum of the vending machine and the clock whirring cheap seconds. Jessa helped the man pull the new socks over his old ones. She didn't ask where his old ones went. She wiped the coffee off the cart rails. She poured the rest of the bagel crumbs into a napkin and folded it like a small envelope. He watched her hands and then looked at hers, the way they had dried with cleaning solution, and he nodded at nothing. Security came back with a badge on a shiny blue lanyard, the kind they gave to guests on big days. The operations boss wasn't with them. One of the guards met Jessa's eyes and said quieter, "We're adding a note to his profile. Communication needs." He tapped his own ear and then pointed to the card. It wasn't a big deal. It was exactly a big deal. They walked him to the real break room, the one with the cracked window that overlooked the loading dock. The custodian parked his cart just so, squeegee hung in a straight line. He hooked the new badge on a nail by the light switch, like something you want to keep safe. Jessa put the little tin back in the cart where it had been. She was late to everything by then. The CFO got someone else to pitch. Her phone filled with question marks and a hello from HR that was friendly like a dentist. She went to the lobby and sat on a bench by the ficus, with a bag of her own now wet hoodie in her lap. Her stomach hurt like she'd run hard. At noon she went back to her desk and found a sticky note. See me at 3. HR with glass walls and a bowl of individually wrapped mints. Words like policy and safety floated by. She nodded a lot. She didn't cry. She took the write-up, signed the line. We'll revisit your status after this sprint, they said. She left with the mints in her pocket, unwrapped. By the end of the week, a small sign hung by the espresso machine. It was hand-lettered, just a marker on a piece of printer paper taped to the chrome. All staff welcome. It lay a little crooked. Someone kept straightening it. The operations boss installed a low bench by the velvet rope in the atrium, the kind with a narrow cushion like the ones at museums where guards sit. No one announced it. It was just there. Security added a small sticker to the bottom of badges, a colored dot everyone pretended not to notice, green for language help, blue for hearing. It sat quiet. It mattered when it needed to. People started saying hi to the custodian by name. You couldn't miss him. He rode through at the same time every morning, the wheels of his cart clicking once where the tile met the concrete. Employees in black hoodies and clean sneakers looked up. Not all of them. Enough of them. Someone left a cheap ceramic mug in the cart's wire basket with a cartoon sun on it. It wasn't a joke. The operations boss came down one day, no clipboard, and carried a box of new lanyards into the staff lounge herself. She set them on the table and took the torn one out of the trash and threw it away properly, not like a throw, but like a thing you were done with. She didn't make a speech. Jessa got used to the quick nod she got from security now, the kind that says we know and we're not saying. She used the bench by the rope. She watched the floor fill and empty. She noticed people watching the map of tape and rope less than before. The map had softened at the edges. A week later, she saw the custodian in the atrium again, early, before the hum. He was alone, whispering to the long chrome of the espresso machine like it was a machine he could fix too. He filled the cartoon mug halfway and set it under the steam wand and watched it fog. He wasn't sneaking. He was careful. He looked up when he saw Jessa and lifted the mug a tiny bit in the air. "How are you?" Without words. She made the same motion back. Jessa's body still felt like it hummed. She sat again on the lobby bench and watched the sun drag across the glass. For a moment she thought about the meeting she didn't lead and the points her manager would take away from her. She thought about her bank app. She thought about her sister's text. Rent. Hello. She was not fine. She was okay. She remembered the sound of the lanyard, that plastic pop like a breaking bikini clasp, more embarrassing than brutal. The way the room froze over something small until it was all you could taste. How quiet it had gotten when she stood up. Her hands smelled like diluted bleach and coffee, a strange comfort. The ficus leaves shook when the lobby doors opened. Light cut across the tile in a bright stripe. The custodian's new blue lanyard swung when he pushed his cart through, catching that stripe for a second and turning it into a quick flash. He lifted 2 fingers at her in a hello. She lifted her hand back. The stripe on the floor slid toward them both, slow and steady like the day had decided to keep going.